Okay, let's unpack this. Step into the modern marketplace, and what do you hear? It's just a constant, overwhelming roar, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It feels like everyone, everywhere, is vying for attention.
Right. Your inbox is a battleground.
Mm.
Your social feeds are just this riot of competing messages, and simply getting someone to notice you, let alone, stop, pay attention, and actually do something. Sign up, buy, whatever. It feels incredibly tough, maybe even impossible sometimes.
That feeling of being drowned out, just lost in the noise, it's completely real. And for anyone with a product, a service, an idea they're passionate about, well, cutting through that initial clutter is the first massive hurdle.
And even if you manage that, you still have to convince someone to choose you from the handful of options they actually end up considering.
Exactly. And that challenge, that core problem, brings us right to the idea we're diving deep into today. It's something our sources keep calling irresistible offers.
Yeah, and it's not just about having a great product, is it? It's about packaging whatever you're selling in a way that's so profoundly appealing, so clearly valuable, that potential customers find it genuinely hard, almost illogical to say no.
It's like optimizing the ask itself, isn't it? You could have invented, I don't know, sliced bread 2.0, something truly revolutionary.
Right.
But if you present it badly, if it's confusing or buried in jargon, or if you don't clearly show how it solves their specific immediate problem, well, that amazing thing might just sit there, unsold.
Mm.
The offer is the bridge. It connects what you have to where they want to go.
That's a great way to put it. And to help us figure out how to build that bridge, we've really dug into some insightful material. We've pulled from Crafting Irresistible Offers, Crafting Offers Customers Can't Resist, and there's a Mastering Irresistible Offers study guide, too.
Yeah, and think of these kind of collectively as our blueprints for this deep dive.
Exactly. Our guidebooks.
And what's great is they move beyond just, abstract concepts. They lay out a surprisingly practical step-by-step framework. It feels less like high-level marketing theory and more like actionable stuff you can actually use.
Totally. So our mission today is to really get into these sources, pull out the core principles, the actionable steps, and really understand the process involved in building offers that don't just get seen, but that actively make people want to take action.
Yeah, we want to make it significantly easier for you, the listener, whether you're just starting out trying to grow an existing thing or frankly just want people to say yes more often, to turn those maybe interested visitors into actual enthusiastic customers.
We're aiming to bridge that gap between curious browser and committed buyer.
And we'll cover, why your offer might just be the most critical piece of your marketing puzzle, the absolute foundational work you have to do first, some powerful psychological techniques the sources suggest, how to make things super clear and appealing.
And crucially, how to make sure your offer stays sharp,
Right.
that it keeps working over time.
Exactly. It's about shifting your whole mindset, really, moving from here's a thing I sell to something more like here's the exact transformation my ideal customer is craving and I've packaged it perfectly for them.
It's that sweet spot where perceived value meets their deepest desire.
Precisely. Okay, let's jump in.
So kicking us off then, what exactly is an irresistible offer as these sources define it? And why do they give it so much weight?
Well, the definition that comes through consistently is that it's your product or service, sure, but presented as a really carefully constructed package. And that package is designed to be incredibly appealing and valuable, but, and this is key to a very specific target audience.
Okay, specific audience, got it.
And the goal, to make saying no feel really difficult, almost like irrational from their point of view.
What jumps out at me there is that emphasis on package and specific target audience. It's not just showing the product.
No, not at all. It's about how you wrap it up, what other bits you include, the bonuses, the guarantees, all that stuff. But critically, tailoring that entire presentation to the exact needs, the desires, even the specific language of the people you're trying to reach.
Right. The sources are really clear. It's way beyond just listing features or slapping a price tag on it.
And that brings us to that core shift you mentioned earlier, doesn't it? Instead of leading with, say, here's our software, it has features A, B, and C, the irresistible offer approach flips it.
How so?
It reframes it to focus relentlessly on the transformation, on the tangible benefits the customer will actually experience because of those features. It asks, what does using this thing enable them to do? What problems does it genuinely solve in their life or their business?
Okay, so it's about this so what?
Exactly. The sources put it beautifully. Something like, people don't inherently buy products or services. They buy results, outcomes, and transformations. That distinction is just vital.
So you're not selling gym access.
You're selling weight loss, confidence, energy,
not financial planning sessions.
You're selling peace of mind, a secure retirement, freedom from worry. You're selling a better after state. That's the core of it.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. So we get the definition, the core idea. But why does this matter so much? Why should we spend significant time and effort crafting this detailed package and focusing on transformation? The sources give some pretty compelling reasons.
Oh, yeah. And they're fundamental, really, to survival and growth today. The first one, as we kind of touched on, is simply cutting through the noise.
Right, that overwhelming roar we started with.
Exactly. The marketplace isn't just crowded, it's deafening. Every business, every marketer is yelling for attention. But a compelling, clearly articulated offer, one that speaks directly to a known pain point or a desired future, it acts like a powerful signal flare in all that chaos.
It works like a filter for the customer then. When they're bombarded with generic stuff, seeing something that immediately hits home, that clearly addresses their specific challenge or promises the exact outcome they're dreaming of, well, it simplifies things dramatically for them.
Absolutely. It makes your offering potentially the only relevant option they even register in that moment. The offer becomes the spotlight, cutting through the fog.
And that ability to cut through leads right to the second big reason, which feels maybe the most critical, especially for businesses focused on growth,
Yes.
driving conversions.
Yes. And the sources are emphatic here. They state it again and again. The offer itself is the single most significant factor driving conversions, period.
Wow. More than traffic, more than fancy ads.
They actually say, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's close, if your offer doesn't profoundly resonate with your target audience, no amount of traffic, no brilliant ad copy, nothing else will compensate for that fundamental weakness.
It's quite an indictment of just chasing traffic, isn't it? You could spend a fortune getting eyeballs, but if the offer they see is weak or confusing,
Poof, it's largely wasted effort and money. Conversely, the sources strongly imply that a really strong offer can drive significant conversions even with a, relatively modest audience size. Why? Because the percentage of people who see it and say yes is just so much higher.
so the offer is the main lever, maybe the primary lever for turning interest into sales.
It's that essential bridge we talked about, connecting what you have to the impact it makes and articulating that value exchange so clearly that, yes, feels like the only sensible, beneficial choice.
And that brings us nicely to the third reason they highlight, enhancing perceived value. A well-crafted offer does more than just list stuff, right? It makes the audience feel like they're getting something truly exceptional.
Exactly. Something uniquely valuable, and crucially, something that feels like it was designed specifically for them.
Ah, that personalization aspect again.
Yes. It cultivates that powerful feeling of, wow, this is exactly what I needed, and I'd be crazy to miss out. It shifts their perspective from just buying a thing to investing in a personalized solution, a future they desire. The perceived value isn't just the sum of the parts, it's about the total impact and relevance of the package.
Okay, so let's bring this home for you, the listener. Why should you invest your time digging into this? Well, the sources explicitly mention this framework is ideal if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, if you're running a new business finding its feet, or a small business wanting to grow without, massive ad spends.
But honestly, even beyond that, if you're ever trying to convince anyone to say yes to anything buying, signing up, agreeing to a meeting, understanding how to structure an irresistible offer is presented as potentially the single biggest factor between struggling and succeeding.
It's the core mechanism, the way you translate potential interest into concrete action.
It's not just a tactic, it's fundamental communication. It's the handshake where value is truly exchanged.
Okay, that lays a really solid foundation. We know what it is, why it's critical. So where do you even start building one of these things? The sources are, well, they couldn't be more aligned on the very first step.
No ambiguity whatsoever. Every single piece we looked at puts this right at the beginning, calls it the absolute non-negotiable foundation. Everything else rests on this. Get this wrong, and the whole structure is shaky.
And their foundational step is deeply understanding your target audience. But, and this is important, the sources stress it's way more than just knowing their age or where they live.
Oh, much deeper. It's about getting inside their heads, understanding their world intimately.
So what specifically do you need to understand?
The material really emphasizes two key areas: their specific, acute pain points and their deeply felt desires. What are the real daily problems, the frustrations, the nagging issues they genuinely struggle with? What, keeps them awake at 3 a.m.? What roadblocks are stopping them?
And the flip side of that coin, what outcomes do they truly want? What goals are they desperately trying to reach but haven't managed yet? What are their aspirations for their future self, their business, their life?
Yeah, and it's not surface level stuff like they want to save money. It's digging into the why behind that, the core emotional drivers, the practical implications.
Okay, so how do you actually get this deep understanding? The sources offer concrete methods.
They do. They mention the more traditional approaches, of course, structured research, sending out surveys, conducting one-on-one interviews. These are still essential.
So for you listening, this could look like what? Sending a detailed questionnaire to your email list.
Exactly. Or scheduling short calls, maybe Zoom chats with people who fit that ideal customer profile, even just having informal conversations with people in your network who represent that market. The key is listening actively, asking probing questions, going beyond the first answer.
And they really highlight the value of creating buyer personas. Can you unpack that a bit?
Sure, it's not just an abstract marketing exercise. It involves building these detailed, semi-fictional profiles of your ideal customers, giving them a name, a job, a backstory, listing their biggest pains, their core desires, what their typical day looks like, where they hang out online, who influences them.
So it makes the audience feel more real.
Precisely. Building these personas helps you internalize their needs so deeply that when you sit down to write your offer, you're not writing to some vague target market. You're writing to Sarah or David, this specific person you genuinely understand and want to help.
That makes sense. What other ways did the sources suggest for digging deeper?
They added some really valuable, almost stealthy techniques. Beyond the formal stuff, they strongly recommend paying close attention to online spaces where your audience gathers. Think online forums, specific Facebook or LinkedIn groups, subreddit communities.
Eavesdropping ethically.
Kind of. Also, look at customer reviews not just for your stuff, but for your competitors or even related products. People in these places are often remarkably candid and unfiltered about their struggles, their frustrations, what they wish existed, what solutions failed them.
You get their actual language, too. The specific words and phrases they use to describe their problems and hopes. That seems invaluable for writing copy that resonates.
Totally invaluable. And the sources also mention using tools like empathy mapping. Have you come across that?
I think so, vaguely. What is it exactly?
It's basically a collaborative framework, often a visual canvas, that helps you and your team consciously step outside your own perspective and into your customer's shoes. It goes beyond demographics to explore what they see in their environment, what they hear from others, what they actually say versus what they secretly think, what they do behaviorally, and crucially, what they feel emotionally throughout their journey related to the problem you solve.
That emotional layer, the stress, the hope, the frustration, the relief, understanding that feels absolutely critical. Because decisions aren't purely logical.
They really aren't, and that's why this foundational step is so critical. This deep, nuanced, empathetic understanding allows you to position your offer not just as a solution, but as the specific, tailor-made answer they've been searching for. It makes your offer feel personal, relevant, like you truly get them.
And the source is pretty blunt, right? Without this step, any offer you create is basically just guesswork.
Pretty much. A shot in the dark. You might get lucky, but you're probably missing the mark for most people because you're not speaking their language, hitting their core needs, addressing their specific world. It's like building a house with no foundation. It just won't stand up. It won't resonate deeply enough to make them act.
Okay, so you've done the hard yards. You've invested the time. You really understand who you're talking to, their pains, their desires. What's the logical next step in building this irresistible offer? How do you shape the actual message?
Right. So once you have that deep audience insight, the next step is translating that understanding into the actual words and framing of your offer. And this section in the sources really drills down on that critical principle we touched on earlier. The shift away from just listing features.
So focusing
Squarely on the tangible, desirable results and benefits, the transformation the customer will experience.
Let's use those examples from the sources again because they really make it concrete. The fitness program one.
Yeah. So the traditional, less effective way is feature-focused. Our program includes 3 workout plans, 5 meal plans, video library, community forum, blah, blah, blah.
That's the ingredients list, as you said.
Exactly. The new irresistible way, according to these guides, translates those ingredients into the desired outcome. Lose 10 pounds in the next 30 days and feel more confident and energetic than ever. See the massive difference.
Totally. It's outcome versus components.
It's all about the positive change those components enable. What's the end result for the customer?
Okay, and the business consulting example.
Same idea. Instead of you get 6 one-hour sessions and a big report.
Which sounds like work.
Right. The transformation-focused offer is something like, double your business revenue in 6 months using our proven, customized growth strategy.
Now that gets a business owner's attention.
Hmm.
Doubling revenue speaks directly to a core desire. The sessions and report are just the vehicle.
Precisely. The end result is the motivator.
So why is this transformation focus so much more compelling? What's the psychology?
Well, it taps into fundamental human motivation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
People don't buy a drill because they want a drill. They buy it because they want a hole. They don't acquire features for fun. They acquire them because they believe those features will solve a problem or get them to a desired state.
They're buying the after picture.
Exactly. Focusing your offer message on transformation paints that vivid, desirable picture of what their life or business will look like after engaging with you. It directly addresses the elimination of the pains and the achievement of the desires you uncovered in that foundational audience research. It speaks to their future self.
It hits on a deeper, more emotional level than just a list of specs ever could. It connects with hopes and dreams, not just practical needs.
Absolutely. So for you listening, take a really critical look at how you currently describe what you offer. Are you mainly listing the ingredients, the modules, the hours, the features, or are you describing the delicious, satisfying meal those ingredients create?
That analogy really sticks.
The sources present this shift not just as a nice idea, but as a fundamental change in communication that can dramatically boost the perceived value and desirability of whatever you're selling. You need to articulate the positive change you create.
Okay, so we've got the deep audience understanding, and we've framed the offer around a compelling transformation. What's next? The sources then talk about adding another layer using psychology and smart marketing techniques to make the offer even more appealing and encourage action.
Yeah, this is where we get into the more tactical side of things. Understanding human behavior and designing the offer's presentation to align with how people naturally make decisions, making it easier to say yes and harder to procrastinate.
And first up, a classic duo we see everywhere: urgency and scarcity.
Right. Urgency is about time limits, the offer expires soon. Scarcity is about quantity limits, only so many available.
We all recognize these. But why do they work so well?
The sources explain they tap into really powerful psychological triggers. The big one is FOMO, the fear of missing out. It's incredibly potent. When people perceive that a desirable opportunity is genuinely limited, either by time or by number, it creates this internal pressure to act now to avoid regret.
It short-circuits that tendency to say, oh, I'll think about it later.
Exactly. It forces a decision. And the material gives concrete examples. Limited time offers like a 48-hour flash sale or discount ends Friday create urgency. Stating limited availability like only 50 left or just 10 spots open leverages scarcity.
What about bonuses for acting fast?
Yeah, that's another one. Sign up in the next 24 hours and get this extra thing. That combines both urgency and an added incentive. The key, though, is that these need to be genuine. Fake scarcity backfires, but when real, they create a legitimate reason to decide now.
Okay, next up, and this feels huge for building trust: risk reduction. Because, let's face it, buying anything, especially online or from someone new, feels risky. What if it's not good? What if I waste my money?
Absolutely. Fear is a massive conversion killer. So the solution the sources strongly recommend is offering a clear, simple, risk-free guarantee. This dramatically shifts the perceived risk from the buyer onto you, the seller.
It makes the decision feel much safer for them.
Much safer. And the sources talk about different types of guarantees. The most common is the money-back guarantee. Try it for 30 days. If you don't love it, get a full refund, no questions asked.
Simple enough. What else?
There are results guarantees, which can be even more powerful if you can offer one. Like, use our system, and if you don't achieve X result, like a 10% sales increase in Y time, you get your money back. Sometimes even, and you can keep the materials.
Wow, that shows real confidence.
It does. And there are satisfaction guarantees too, focusing more on the experience. The core impact, though, is the same. A strong guarantee demolishes risk and builds immense confidence. It signals you stand behind your promise 100%. That makes the yes decision feel so much lighter for the customer.
Okay, guarantee. What else? Social proof. This taps into our herd mentality, right? Looking at what others are doing.
Pretty much. Social proof is just evidence that other people, ideally people similar to your prospect, have used your offer, liked it, and got good results.
And what forms does this take?
The most effective forms mentioned are powerful testimonials, quotes, or videos from happy customers talking about specific results. Positive reviews on your site or third-party platforms like Google or Trustpilot. and detailed case studies.
Ah, case studies. Tell me more about those.
Case studies walk through a specific client's story. Here was their problem, here's how they used our offer, and here are the concrete, measurable results they achieved. They show the transformation in action, in the real world.
So how does social proof help the offer overall?
It demonstrates value from an objective source. It's not just you saying it's great, it's other real people validating your claims. This builds credibility and trust like almost nothing else. It shows the promised transformation is achievable because others have already done it. It makes the offer feel less risky and more like a proven path.
People trust people. Makes sense.
And the sources also loop back to the importance of tapping into emotions. We talked about understanding emotions in the audience research phase, but here it's about actively weaving emotion into the offer's message.
Oh, so.
It reinforces that idea that decisions are often emotional first, rationalized later. So the application is to explicitly highlight the emotional benefits of the transformation. How will achieving that outcome make the customer feel? Relief, pride, freedom, excitement, peace of mind.
Connecting to those feelings, the confidence when losing weight, the security from financial planning, the thrill of business growth resonates much deeper than just listing features.
Exactly. It hits on a more profound human level. The sources also briefly mention a couple of more advanced techniques, like anchoring and the decoy effect, mainly in the context of pricing perception.
Okay, what are those briefly?
Anchoring might involve showing a much higher-priced premium option first, making your main offer seem more reasonable by comparison. The decoy effect involves adding a third, slightly worse option that makes one of your main options look significantly more attractive.
Interesting psychological nudges.
Yeah, the sources don't go super deep, but they acknowledge these exist as part of the toolkit for shaping how value is perceived. It highlights that even how you present the price matters.
So for you, the listener, the takeaway here isn't about being manipulative. It's about understanding these natural human responses.
Yeah.
When your offer genuinely provides value, these techniques can help good prospects overcome inertia, fear, and doubt. They help clear the path to saying yes to something beneficial for them.
It's about making the right decision easier, reducing that psychological friction.
And speaking of reducing friction, there's another element the sources absolutely insist on, something that can make or break an offer. Simplicity and clarity. The message seems to be, if it's confusing, it's dead in the water.
Absolutely. Simplicity sells. Complexity kills conversions. If an offer is hard to understand, if it's buried in jargon or just too complicated, it creates cognitive friction. The potential customer has to work too hard to figure it out.
And people are busy. They don't have time for that.
Exactly. That mental effort feels risky, and it often leads them to just give up and click away. An unclear offer feels less trustworthy and definitely less compelling. You need to be able to grasp the core value almost instantly.
So how do the sources say we achieve this brilliant clarity and simplicity? What's the first step?
The first key principle is to focus on one core benefit. This is tough because you might want to list everything your thing does, but the advice is to distill it down. Identify the single most important, most compelling outcome or benefit for the specific audience you're targeting with this offer.
So resist the urge to list all 27 features.
Resist the urge. By focusing on that one massive benefit, you cut through the noise in their head and highlight the main reason they should care right now. It provides immediate clarity. Ah, this helps me achieve X.
Okay, focus on one core benefit. What else?
Use simple, direct language. This means being ruthless about cutting out jargon, technical terms, industry buzzwords, anything your target audience wouldn't naturally use or immediately understand. Speak their language.
This goes back to that audience research again, doesn't it? Listening to how they talk.
Directly. If you've listened to them in interviews, read their forum posts, built those personas, you should know the exact words and phrases they use for their problems and desired solutions. Mirroring that language makes the offer feel familiar, accessible, and instantly understandable, like you're speaking directly to them.
Makes sense. And the third piece for clarity.
Highlighting the next step with a crystal clear call to action, CTA. Once someone gets the offer and feels interested, there should be zero confusion about what to do next. The CTA must be obvious, easy to find, and totally unambiguous.
So big button saying buy now or get started.
Pretty much. Whether it's click here to enroll, download your guide, schedule your call, whatever the action is, the instruction needs to be impossible to miss and easy to follow. Any friction in finding the button, any uncertainty about what happens when they click it, can lose you the sale right at the finish line.
So the combined effect of all this focusing on one benefit, using simple language, clear CTA is.
An offer that's easy to grasp feels way more compelling. It minimizes the mental gymnastics required from the prospect, lowers their cognitive load, and makes it dramatically easier for them to just say yes confidently.
Okay, so for you listening, pull up your sales page or offer description right now. Seriously, can a total stranger understand the main benefit, who it's for, and what to do next within, say, 5 seconds?
Be honest with yourself. If there's any hesitation, any jargon, any fuzziness around the CTA, simplifying that might be the single biggest win you can get, according to these sources. Clarity is king.
Absolutely. Clarity is definitely king. Now, once you have that clear, compelling offer, how do you make it even more enticing, like push it into that can't-refuse territory? The sources talk about enhancing value through unbeatable bonuses.
Yes, bonuses are framed as a really powerful way to ramp up the perceived value of the whole package. When done right, they can take an offer that's already good and make it feel like an absolute no-brainer, as the sources often call it.
But it's not just about throwing in random free stuff, right? The key is.
The key, emphasized strongly, is that effective bonuses must complement the main offer. They need to significantly enhance the value or effectiveness of the core product or service itself. They should make the main thing even better, easier to use, or help the customer get the promised results faster or more completely.
So they should distract. They should amplify.
Exactly. The sources use an online course example. Good bonuses might be downloadable templates or checklists that help you apply the course lessons, or maybe bonus mini modules covering related topics that deepen the core knowledge, or even access to live Q&A sessions with the instructor for personalized help related to the course.
Okay, those make perfect sense. A template helps you do the thing the course teaches. An advanced module extends the learning. A Q&A provides crucial support to succeed with the main content. They're not just random extras.
Well, precisely. They directly contribute to achieving the core promise of the main offer. And the psychological effect the sources highlight is powerful. When the perceived value of the main thing, plus the perceived value of these genuinely useful bonuses, clearly outweighs the asking price, well, it becomes incredibly hard for the customer to justify saying no.
It tips the scales heavily towards yes. It feels like an amazing deal.
It feels like they're getting way more value than they're paying for. That's the no-brainer effect.
So for you, the listener, think about your main offer. What extra resources, tools, support, templates, guides, or related insights would genuinely make your core product or service better for your audience? Would help them get results easier or faster? Identifying those complementary needs and packaging solutions as bonuses can transform your offer from just good into truly irresistible territory.
It's like adding the perfect premium toppings to an already delicious pizza. It just makes the whole thing better.
Okay, so you've done the deep audience research, you've crafted a transformation-focused message, woven in psychological triggers, made it crystal clear, added amazing bonuses. You've built the perfect offer, right? Done and dusted.
Ah, if only. The sources offer a firm reality check here. They're absolutely clear. Offer creation is not a one-and-done project. It's not finished. They stress repeatedly that crafting and maintaining an irresistible offer is a continuous, ongoing process. It requires refinement and improvement over time.
And this brings us to the final, crucial stage, testing and iteration. Why is this ongoing testing so important?
Because your initial offer, no matter how well researched and crafted, is still fundamentally a hypothesis. It's your best guess. Real-world testing is the only way to find out what actually resonates most powerfully with your audience in practice. Which headline works best? Which bonus drives more sales? Which guarantee reduces hesitation most effectively?
So it's about getting real data, not just relying on assumptions?
Exactly. Testing allows you to gather that real data, refine your approach based on what the data tells you, and ultimately consistently improve your conversion rates over time. You make the offer better and better.
What methods do the sources suggest for this testing and iteration?
The core method, the foundation of testing, is running split tests, or A/B tests as they're often called. This means creating two slightly different versions of one specific element in your offer presentation.
Like what?
Maybe two different headlines for your sales page, or two different versions of the text on your Buy Now button. Maybe you test describing your bonuses differently, or even present the price in two different ways.
And then you show these versions to different people.
Right. You split your traffic, show version A to half, version B to the other half, and track which version leads to more conversions or clicks or whatever your key metric is.
That's incredibly powerful. It takes the guesswork out. The audience tells you what works better through their actions.
Exactly. It's objective data. Another vital method is actively gathering customer feedback, but specifically after they've purchased. Ask them, what did they love about the offer? What almost stopped them from buying? How valuable were the bonuses in reality?
Getting those qualitative insights.
Yes, they can reveal things the numbers alone won't tell you. This feedback helps you fine-tune both the offer components and the messaging for future customers. Hearing directly from people who went through the process is gold.
Definitely. What else?
And finally, the sources emphasize just continuously monitoring key conversion metrics. Keep a close eye on your overall conversion rate, the click-through rates on your CTAs, your sales numbers. These metrics are your dashboard, your feedback loop. If you make a change based on a test or feedback, you watch the numbers to see if it helped or hurt.
And the sources warn about not doing this right. What happens if you just set it and forget it?
Well, your offer might simply not be performing as well as it could be. You could be leaving a lot of conversions, sales, and growth on the table without even realizing it. You might be using language or focusing on benefits that don't actually motivate your audience, and you'd have no way of knowing without testing.
So the message for you, the listener, is that creating an irresistible offer isn't a one-time task. It's a cycle.
It really is. Create the best offer you can based on research. Launch it. Then actively monitor, gather feedback, and be willing, eager, even to tweak, test, and refine based on how your audience actually responds in the real world. It's an ongoing optimization process that should never really end. The data becomes your guide.
Okay, wow. We have definitely covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've systematically worked through the key principles and steps for crafting these irresistible offers, drawing heavily on the sources we looked at.
Yeah, we started by really pinning down what an irresistible offer is, that value package focused on transformation for a specific audience and why it's so critical today. Cutting through noise, driving conversions, boosting perceived value.
Then we hit that absolute non-negotiable foundation. Deeply, truly understanding your audience, their pains, their desires, using research, personas, empathy mapping to really get inside their world.
From there, we moved into shaping the message itself. That crucial shift from just listing features to focusing intensely on the tangible results, the transformation the customer gets. We used those fitness and consulting examples to make it really clear.
Right. Then we dove into the psychology, leveraging things like urgency and scarcity to prompt action, using guarantees to smash risk and build trust, harnessing social proof for validation, and tapping into emotions for deeper connection.
And we hammered home the need for absolute simplicity and clarity, focusing on one core benefit, using their language, having a dead simple call to action, making it easy.
We also looked at how adding those unbeatable complementary bonuses can really ramp up the value, pushing the offer into that no-brainer zone.
Making it hard to say no.
And finally, we wrapped up by stressing that this isn't a one-off task. It's an ongoing cycle of testing, gathering feedback, iterating, and refining based on real-world results. Continuous improvement.
Yeah, the core message shining through all these sources is pretty consistent. Building an irresistible offer isn't just about having a great product, though you need that too. It's really a strategic process.
A process of what?
Of deeply understanding your customer, meticulously packaging your solution around the transformation it provides, and communicating that value with clarity, psychological awareness, and direct relevance to their needs and desires. Making yes feel not just easy, but compelling and desirable.
And the implication is powerful. By applying these principles consistently, you can dramatically improve your ability to turn interest into action, to drive growth, maybe even more effectively than just pouring money into getting more traffic.
Exactly. The conversion power lies significantly within the offer itself, how it's structured, how it's communicated.
Which leads us to a final thought, maybe a bit provocative based on everything we've discussed.
Go on.
The sources repeatedly suggest that a truly great offer should almost feel like it sells itself. That sales should feel less like pushing and more like presenting the perfect key to someone who's eager to unlock a door.
Less friction, more flow.
Right. So consider this. If your offer isn't converting easily right now, if sales feel like a constant struggle, an uphill battle, is the main problem really your traffic or your lead generation? Or could the root cause based on this framework actually lie within the offer itself?
Is it unclear? Is the value not perceived? Is it not hitting the right pain points? Is the risk too high?
Exactly. So the question for you to mull over is, based on everything we've talked about today, which single element of your current offer structure feels like the most promising place for you to start testing and iterating first? Where could you potentially get the biggest lift by applying these principles?
Pondering that question and then actually acting on the answer might just be the most transformative step you can take for your business right now.